Here is the list of Macintosh model series. Compact Macs are a line of all-in-one computers with a display integrated into the computer case. Apple divided these models into four major form factors. The Macintosh 128K was the original Apple Macintosh personal computer. It had a motherboard, a 9-inch, 23cm CRT monitor, and a floppy drive, which were housed in a beige case with an integrated carrying handle. It came with a keyboard and a single-button mouse. The processor of the computer was a Motorola 68000 microprocessor running at 7.8336 MHz, connected to 128 KB of RAM shared by the processor and the display controller. The Macintosh contained a single 400 KB single-sided 3.5-inch floppy disk drive. The models of this form factor were Macintosh 128K, Macintosh 512K, Macintosh Plus, Macintosh 512K/800, Macintosh 512Q, Macintosh ED, and Macintosh Plus ED/European version. Macintosh SE. The Macintosh SE was introduced at the Apple World Conference in Los Angeles on March 2, 1987. The SE is an initial for system expansion. It had the following specifications. A Motorola 6800 processor with an 8 MHz system bus. The SE can accommodate either one or two floppy drives, or a floppy drive and a hard drive. Built-in 512 by 342 monochrome screen. A 3.6V lithium battery soldered into the logic board. A processor direct slot on the logic board allows for expansion cards. The SE ROM size increased to 256 kilobytes. The models of this form factor were Macintosh SE, Macintosh SE 120th, Macintosh SE 140, Macintosh SE FDHD, Macintosh SE SuperDrive, and Macintosh SE/30. Macintosh Classic. Macintosh Classic is the final adaptation of the Macintosh 128K industrial design, bringing some elements of the original while retaining little of the Macintosh SE design. This was the first Macintosh to sell for less than $1,000. The low-end model was sold with 1 MB of memory, a 1.44 MB floppy drive, no hard disk, and an included keyboard for $999, while the $1,500 one had 2 MB of memory and a 40 MB hard disk. Other specifications included an 8 MHz Motorola 68000 processor, 1 MB RAM expandable to 2 MB or 4 MB, a 3.6V lithium battery, and no expansion slots. The models with this form factor were the Macintosh Classic, Macintosh Classic 2, and Macintosh Performa 200. Macintosh Color Classic. It has an all-in-one design with a small, integrated 10-inch Sony Trinitron display. The display is capable of supporting up to thousands of colors with a video memory upgrade. The Color Classic is the final model of the original, compact, family of Macintosh computers. It had the following upgrades. Motorola 68030 CPU running at 16 MHz. Changed the display to allow 640 by 480 resolution. A single expansion slot, an LC-type processor direct slot, PDS. There was a direct clock to the processor from CPU accelerators, Ethernet, and video cards. It had an Apple keyboard known as an Apple Keyboard 2, M0487, which featured a soft power switch on the keyboard itself. The models of this form factor were the Macintosh Color Classic, Macintosh Performa 250, Macintosh Color Classic 2, and Macintosh Performa 275. Macintosh 2 personal computers were designed, manufactured, and sold from March 1987 to January 1990. Based on the Motorola 68020 32-bit CPU, it is the first Macintosh to support color graphics. The Macintosh 2 was the first computer in the Macintosh line without a built-in display. A monitor rested on top of the case. Had the following specifications. Had the Motorola 68020 processor operating at 16 MHz. Standard memory was 1 MB, expandable to 8 MB. The Macintosh 2 includes a graphics card that supports a true-color 16.7 million color palette and was available in two configurations, 4-bit and 8-bit. Apple offered a choice of two displays, a 12-inch black and white unit and a more expensive 13-inch high-resolution color display based on Sony's Trinitron technology. Had a 40 MB internal SCSI hard disk, which was optional, as was a second internal 800 KB 3.5-inch floppy disk drive. 6 new bus slots were available for expansion. The Macintosh 2 and Macintosh SE were the first Apple computers since the Apple I to be sold without a keyboard. Instead, the customer was offered the choice of the new ADB Apple keyboard or the Apple Extended Keyboard as a separate purchase. Macintosh LC. The Macintosh LC was manufactured and sold from October 1990 to March 1992. The LC uses a pizza box case with a processor direct slot, PDS, but no new bus slots. Other features were a 16 MHz Motorola 68020 microprocessor, a 16-bit data bus, had 256 KB of VRAM upgradable to 512 KB, supporting a display resolution of 512 by 384 pixels at 8-bit color. A floppy drive and a 40 MB or 80 MB hard drive. Desktop models in this series were the Macintosh LC, Macintosh LC2, Macintosh LC3, Macintosh LC3 Plus, Macintosh LC475, and Macintosh LC630. The all-in-one models in this series were the Macintosh LC520, Macintosh LC550, Macintosh LC575, and Macintosh LC580. Macintosh Performa. The Macintosh Performa was designed, manufactured, and sold from 1992 to 1997. The Performas were launched with their own variants of System 7, from 7.0.1p to 7.1.2p, which came with special software bundles and utilities, such as the Performa control panel. Some of its features include Motorola 68030 processor with 16 MHz speed, 40 MB to 80 MB storage, 1.44 MB floppy disk, 2 MB inbuilt memory, 9-inch monochrome display, 3.6 lithium battery. Macintosh Quadra. The Macintosh Quadra was designed, manufactured, and sold from 1991 to 1995. The Quadra, named for the Motorola 68040 central processing unit, replaced the Macintosh 2 family as the high-end Macintosh model. They had the following specifications. Motorola 68040 processor, ranging from 25 MHz to 33 MHz for the different variants. Memory ranging from 4 MB to 8 MB and expandable from 36 MB to 256 MB. They had 0, 80 MB, 160 MB, 230 MB, 400 MB, 500 MB, and 1 GB of maximum storage. They had no optical drives. 2 new bus slots and a processor direct slot. The Macintosh PowerBook is a family of Macintosh laptop computers designed, manufactured, and sold from 1991 to 2006. The PowerBook line was targeted at the professional market. The PowerBook 100 was the first ever laptop from Apple to feature a setback keyboard, which made room for palm rests, and a front and center trackball for both left and right-handed users, which would set the default standard for laptops. Although it was criticized for lacking a floppy disk drive, it went on to become a huge success. It featured a Motorola 68000 processor, which was manufactured by Sony, 2 MB of RAM, and a 9-inch backlit LCD. Apple later released its PowerBook 500 series in 1994. It included a trackpad, which replaced the trackball, a built-in microphone, Ethernet, and stereo speakers. Depending on the model, it also included a 9.5-inch black and white or color display and a Motorola 68LC040 CPU. The third generation of PowerBooks was the PowerBook G3, and it was Apple's most customizable laptop. It offered a PowerPC G3 chip that was up to 2 times faster than the Pentium and Pentium 2 processors used in PC notebooks and desktops, a CD-ROM and DVD-ROM drive, built-in video output, swappable expansion bays for multiple storage options, and lithium-ion batteries. It also featured a flip-up keyboard for easy access to the RAM expansion slot and removable hard disk drive. Apple later announced the iBook G3 on June 21, 1999, at the Macworld Expo in New York. It featured a polycarbonate shell in 2 translucent colors, a 12.1-inch high-resolution active matrix display, a built-in CD-ROM drive, a 3.2 GB hard disk drive, wireless networking, and a convenient carrying handle. Powered by a PowerPC G3 processor, it included a 6-hour lithium-ion battery and a trackpad that supported tap, double tap, and dragging capabilities. Its integrated power plug glowed amber when the battery was charging and turned green when it was fully charged. The iBook G3 also included a sleep indicator beacon light that indicated when the iBook was asleep or turned off. The PowerBook Titanium G4 was later released on January 9, 2001. It featured a PowerPC G4 processor, a slot-loading DVD drive, and a 5-hour battery life. At 1 inch thick and 5.3 pounds, it included a 15.2 inches TFT widescreen active matrix display and outperformed Pentium 3-based notebook systems by up to 30%. Apple's use of metal as an exterior casing would later become standard in all Mac products.